I thought he was just reorganizing the garage. But this time, every box was already taped shut and stacked in the back of his pickup truck. The wedding photos that once hung along the staircase gone. Inside the bedroom safe, nothing remained but a faded sticky note. No need to keep this. My jaw locked. I could not swallow. I held the cabinet edge, but I felt nothing beneath my grip. It was like someone had closed the door and erased me from the home I was still standing in. What if one day you came home and your cheating husband's story had already been packed into a moving truck? Marian Blake had always believed in quiet loyalty. At 65, she had long since retired from her career as a physician, but never from the act of care. Most days, she volunteered her skills for free, treating elders in small towns across Wisconsin through a local nonprofit. Her name was well known in health fairs, church basements, and mobile clinics from Baraboo to Mineral Point. She lived in a modest 2-bedroom home in the outskirts of Madison with her husband of 15 years, Neil Blake. He was a former insurance broker, also retired, and seemingly content to spend his days tending the lawn, reorganizing the garage, and tinkering with old tools. Their home was quiet, predictable. Marian liked it that way. They had no children together. Marian had a daughter from her first marriage, but she lived out west with her own family. Neil never seemed to mind. They had Benny, their aging golden retriever, and a kitchen calendar filled with doctor appointments, grocery runs, and Marian's out-of-town medical trips. In the last 2 years, small changes had started to accumulate. Neil became increasingly focused on simplifying. He sold Marian's old car, cancelled the shared storage unit, and began moving paperwork into his own workshop instead of the home office they once shared. He said he wanted less clutter. She accepted that. After all, he had always handled the household finances. Marian often traveled for 3 or 4 days at a time, setting up health screenings in distant counties. When she returned, Neil would tell her about the neighbors, the weather, and the new lock he had installed on the shed. She never thought to ask about money. She trusted him. There was one neighbor, Mary Kim, who lived 2 streets over. Divorced, handy, friendly. Neil often mentioned helping her fix light switches or clean her gutters. Marian didn't question it. Mary had been their friend for years. That Saturday, Marian arrived home early. A flu outbreak had cancelled her mobile clinic plans, so she came back without calling. It was just past 3 in the afternoon. The sun was soft, her suitcase light. She turned into their driveway and stopped. Neil was in the driveway, loading boxes onto the back of his pickup truck. Not storage boxes, personal ones. His boots, his winter jackets, the blue tackle box he never let anyone else touch. She stepped out of the car. Neil turned around, didn't flinch, no surprise on his face. Just a quiet nod. "I'm leaving," he said. "Mary and I, we're moving to Vietnam. We want a simpler life." Marian didn't speak. Neil's voice remained even. "You're always gone, always doing good, always giving. I needed something else. Someone who looks at me." She stood still. The breeze caught a corner of one box and lifted the tape. He pressed it back down. He drove away an hour later. Marian didn't follow him, didn't call her daughter. She walked inside the house and sat in the kitchen. Benny lay at her feet. The fridge hummed. It wasn't until the next morning that she opened the safe. It was empty. The envelopes of savings, the emergency cash fund gone. A faded sticky note remained. No need to keep this. She turned on her computer and opened their joint bank account. The balance was almost zero. Transaction history told the rest of the story. Steady withdrawals, each one just small enough to avoid alarm, had started nearly 2 years ago. Large transfers had been labeled as investment moves, though she had never been consulted. Their mutual funds sold, their savings bonds gone. The brokerage account tied to her pension liquidated. It was not just abandonment, it was erasure. That was the moment she understood the full weight of financial betrayal in marriage. This was not a mistake, not a panic. It was methodical. Her mouth was dry. Her body didn't move for minutes. Then she opened the drawer next to the sink and pulled out the paper calendar she kept for her clinics. Neil had circled her out-of-town dates for the last 2 years in red ink. Every single one. That was when the withdrawals had been made. She held the calendar. Her hands trembled. The kitchen light flickered above her. She did not cry. Not yet. She simply stared at the dates. Marian had never seen herself as a victim. But now, standing alone in the home she had paid for, beside a safe emptied by the man she loved, she felt the truth settle like dust over everything. This was her cheating husband's story. And it had not begun that afternoon in the driveway. It had begun long before, quietly, carefully. While she was away saving others, he had been saving his own escape plan. The dog barked at the back door. She looked up. The world had not ended, but it had shifted. And in the silence, she heard herself say, "He left piece by piece. I just never saw the pile grow. Some betrayals do not shout. They whisper. They arrive quietly, while you are busy doing good, loving deeply, or trusting too much." This story does not begin with infidelity. It begins with a belief that love can replace accountability. That a shared life means shared loyalty, even without verification. For Marian, the mistake was not falling for someone unkind. It was stepping away from the financial table because she believed she didn't need to sit there. The root cause was a familiar one, comfort mixed with assumption. Marian handed over control of their assets, not because she was incapable, but because she thought that in a lasting marriage, division of roles was natural. Neil used that division to isolate access, move funds, and erase her name from the accounts that held their future. It was not just a failing of love. It was financial abuse. When one partner quietly transfers marital property into private ownership without discussion or consent, especially over a long period of time, it is more than deception. It is erasure. Neil marked the days she would be gone. He planned around her absence. That was not an accident. It was structure. Still, Marian held a piece of the blame, not for what was done to her, but for what she had stopped looking at. She let her calling as a physician outgrow her vigilance as a wife. She did not ask to see the statements. She did not challenge the small decisions that became massive losses over time. But when the truth settled, she acted. Marian found a divorce attorney experienced in asset protection. She presented 2 years' worth of statements, showing a pattern of withdrawals and liquidations made during her out-of-town clinic trips. The court in Wisconsin reviewed the evidence and acknowledged Neil's behavior as dissipation of marital assets. The ruling favored Marian. She was granted a financial offset, her portion adjusted to account for the money already taken from the marriage. Neil's requests for further division of property were denied. The court viewed his actions as a breach of fair conduct. After the legal process, Marian took control of her financial life. She opened a private account. She changed the listed beneficiary on her retirement plans. She had Neil's name removed from the deed to their home. Step by step, she began again with her name at the top of every page. More than that, she chose not to retreat. Marian joined a peer group for women over 60 who had survived marital deception. Many had lived through what she had a partner who vanished. Not with drama, but with quiet calculation. In time, Marian began studying financial literacy and legal basics. She now volunteers as a financial advisor for women facing late-life separation. Her journey from silence to clarity became a tool to help others speak. This is the hidden weight of grey divorce. It is not just about broken hearts. It is about broken security. And for those who face it, the first step is not forgiveness. It is documentation, advocacy, and the courage to reclaim your name. Marian did not rebuild her life all at once. It came slowly, like breath returning after too much stillness. She started by reclaiming space. The bedroom closet, once half empty, now held only her things. She packed Neil's leftover shirts he didn't take, old books, golf balls in a cracked tray, and donated them to the Goodwill store on Main Street. It was not revenge, it was removal, quiet and clean. The house was hers now, but it felt like a hallway between two lives. So she moved the furniture. She painted the guest room pale green and turned it into a small library. She put a chair by the window and began reading again, page by page, like breathing. Then came something harder. Marian had kept the old pickup truck, the same one Neil had used to load his escape. For weeks, she had parked it out of sight, behind the garage, covered in a tarp. But one morning, she pulled it out and drove it into town. She registered it in her name. She had it cleaned, oiled, and fitted with a medical cabinet in the back. The next week, she drove it 40 miles north to a trailer park outside Portage and offered free checkups to 6 elderly residents. One of them cried when she touched his shoulder and said he still mattered. Marian didn't post about it right away, but after a few visits, she began taking pictures, just her hands, the thermometer, the truck parked under tall pine trees. She uploaded a short clip to Facebook with the caption, "Still working, still here." Her daughter saw it first, then a friend from high school. Then a small digital magazine reached out and asked if they could tell her story. Not the scandal, not the pain, just the way she had continued. The piece was titled, "Dr. Blake's Second Start." It was shared over 4,000 times. Now, every Tuesday and Thursday, Marian drives her mobile clinic to different towns. She carries a notebook where she tracks each patient by first name, symptoms, and what they missed most from before their bodies slowed down. In between visits, she drinks tea in parking lots and writes small notes to herself in the margins. This is not a miracle. This is not a rescue. This is what healing looks like when no one is watching. Her cheating husband's story is not what defines her. It is what redirected her. What was once her silence is now her structure. What was once hidden has become purpose. And to any woman who finds herself suddenly standing alone, holding questions she never thought she would ask, Marian has only one suggestion. Pull out your documents. Look at the deed. Call the bank. Check the name on every page. If it is not yours, ask why. Then come back here. There is room beside her truck.